Hello, it's me. This year, I have predicted the outcomes of matches at the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam and Survivor Series, so now it's time to look back to see how accurate I was. Let's start with the Royal Rumble. The first prediction I made this year was for Daniel Bryan vs. The Fiend Bray Wyatt. This was quite obvious, but it was still interesting as I had never seen a strap match before. Bray is currently feuding with Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan is putting people over in what he says is his last WWE run. Maybe he'll have a feud with Roman Reigns at some point. I predicted Bray Wyatt and I wasn't wrong. The next match I predicted was Asuka vs. Becky Lynch. This wasn't as obvious as DB vs. Bray, but still got it correct by guessing that Becky would win. Asuka is currently Raw Women's Champion and Lynch is expecting to have a child with Seth Rollins. The third match from the Royal Rumble that I predicted was Lacey Evans vs. Bayley. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that I thought Lacey would win here, but thank goodness she didn't. Recently, Bayley has been one of the best things on SmackDown, although she didn't do too good in the Survivor Series match despite only losing her championship in the previous month. She currently seems to be entering a feud with Bianca Belair. Lacey has just been thrown into a tag team with Peyton Royce, which is honestly just a worse version of Jax and Shayna. Going right into the next match, we have Humberto Carrillo vs. Andrade. Both of these guys have disappeared from TV at some point. Humberto was last seen briefly in a battle royal, and I want to say we saw Andrade at some point around SummerSlam, but I don't remember. Anyway, this prediction was correct as I said that Andrade would retain his championship. This feud had been going on for months at this point and was hardly going anywhere. This was of course King Corbin vs. Roman. No one was interested in this match, we'd seen it so many times already before this. I also got this prediction correct because of course Roman was gonna win. He's now the Universal Champion, whereas King Corbin just had an interesting match with Murphy on SmackDown. The sixth match that I predicted was Shorty G, now called Chad Gable like he used to, versus Sheamus. When he returned, I thought that Sheamus would be pushed as a megastar, which really wasn't right. Whilst I did predict the outcome correctly, I thought that he would win within seconds. Chad is currently trying to recruit people to something and Sheamus just lost to Riddle on Raw via roll-up. There was no build to the Women's Royal Rumble this year, so I just completely guessed the winner, to be honest, and I got it right. I just assumed that because Becky won last year, Charlotte would win this year, and she did. The main event was the Men's Royal Rumble. Wow, this match had to be one of the best Rumble matches in history. It's definitely the best one I've seen. I predicted that Brock would dominate the first half and I wasn't wrong. I also predicted that Drew would eliminate Brock. And Edge's return. Amazing moment that I also predicted. I thought that Seth would eliminate Edge to get heel heat, but Roman, who was a face at the time, did that. I thought that Corbin would be number 30, but that was Rollins. I thought that Roman would win, but Drew did, which is what I wanted, so I'm not complaining, and that was it for the Royal Rumble. There were a lot of matches here, so I'm going to have to speed up a bit. For Drew vs. Brock, I predicted correctly by going for Drew. He won quickly and is still champion after reclaiming it from Randy Orton, and Brock hasn't been seen since. I got Goldberg vs. Strowman wrong because Strowman won. Strowman is currently injured and Bill hasn't been seen since. I predicted Edge vs. Randy next. This was such a good feud and was perfect for Edge's returning match, which he obviously won. I also got how he won correct, via concerto. Edge is currently injured and, like I said before, Randy is feuding with Bray Wyatt. Speaking of Bray, him going against John Cena was another easy one to predict as The Fiend is booked so strong. This match went through a lot of John's history and was really good, but John hasn't been seen since. That's the third time I've said that. I know. Shayna vs Becky was another one that I got wrong, as Becky retained. Rumors say that even Lynch wanted Shayna to win here, but she didn't. Shayna, one of the current women's tag team champions. I also thought that Sasha would win the 5-pack challenge, but Bayley retained. I was really bad at predicting correctly for women's matches at this year's Mania apparently, as I thought that Rhea would successfully defend her NXT championship, but Charlotte won. Next, I predicted AJ Styles vs The Undertaker in a Boneyard match. This was even better than the Firefly Funhouse match and seems to be The Undertaker's final match, which he won. My prediction was correct. Another that I got correct was Kevin Owens vs Seth Rollins. Kevin won. The Street Profits won against Andrade and Austin Theory. The Street Profits are still champions and Theory is on NXT, which I don't watch. I even got Aleister Black vs Bobby Lashley correct by going with Black. My short streak of correct predictions then ended because Elias beat King Corbin when I thought Corbin would win. Otis beat Ziggler, which was another obvious one. Sami Zayn surprisingly beat Daniel Bryan. I thought that Daniel would win. Morrison beat Kofi Kingston and one of the Usos in a singles ladder match to retain the tag team championships, and I also guessed right by saying that Bliss and Cross would defeat the Kabuki Warriors. They were all of my predictions for WrestleMania. The first prediction for SummerSlam 2020 was the Raw Tag Team Championship match, the Street Profits vs Andrade and Angel Garza. I still think the whole poisoning angle was stupid, and I was correct in thinking that the Street Profits would retain. The second SummerSlam match I predicted was Mandy Rose vs Sonya Deville. This was supposed to be a hair versus hair match, but Sonya ran into some personal issues, so they changed it into an I Quit match so they had an excuse to keep Sonya off of TV. This was a good feud with an outcome that I predicted correctly, that being Mandy coming out on top. The next match was Dominic Mysterio vs Seth Rollins. This was Dominic's first match, so I think it was quite clear that Seth would win this one, and he did. MVP vs Apollo Crews was another match that I predicted correctly. Apollo won to retain the United States Championship. The fifth match in a row for SummerSlam that I predicted correctly was Strowman vs The Fiend for the Universal Championship. The Fiend won, but then Roman Reigns returned as a heel and no one saw it coming. He had new teeth too, I guess. Bray lost the title a week later to Roman, who signed a contract to compete towards the end of the match. But then my SummerSlam streak came to an end. I thought that Asuka would beat Bayley, which was not the case. Why do I keep on thinking Bayley is going to lose? And I thought that Sasha would beat Asuka. None of these happened. I also incorrectly predicted Randy Orton vs Drew McIntyre. I thought that Randy would win here, but he won at Hell in a Cell instead. Drew won with a backslide. Those were the matches for SummerSlam. For Survivor Series, there was next to no story, so I'll just tell you the results and my prediction. The New Day vs the Street Profits. I predicted the Street Profits and wasn't wrong. Bobby Lashley vs Sami Zayn. I got it right by predicting Bobby. Sasha v Asuka. At first, I put Sasha, but I changed my prediction and got it wrong. Drew McIntyre vs Roman Reigns. I predicted Roman and he won. 5-on-5 women's match. Rule 1 with Lana being sole survivor just like I predicted. Men's 5-on-5 match. Rule 1, without anyone getting eliminated. Battle Royal. I predicted Elias and he got top 5 but The Miz won. He didn't cash in on Drew either. I correctly predicted the outcome of 26 of the overall 39 matches, meaning I got 66.66666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666666. recurring correct. See you.